up, guys? It's Kevin and Steve, founders of Bombers and Sleeves, a clothing and lifestyle brand dedicated to artists, writers, musicians, anyone currently on the creative path, or anyone looking to start a creative journey of their own. Our goal with this company and our BombCast is to encourage you to win the internal war of your creative pursuit. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, we sum it up in 3 words, and those 3 words are bomb your boundaries. And what does that mean? Well, what has more intense, focused, explosive energy than a bomb? Not that much fucking else. And so we use that as a metaphor to say that if you want your dreams to come true, if you want your creative vision to come through, you have to get intense, focused, and explosive. And so we use that as the slogan for our company. And now you know what that means. So if you go to our website and see Bomb Your Boundaries, or to our Instagram page and see our hashtag that says Bomb Your Boundaries, now you know what that means. And so we bring guests on this show that embody that Bomb Your Boundaries mentality, or sometimes, like we're doing today, we'll do a solo podcast where Steve and I, talk about ideas around that central topic, and also things that are going on in our personal lives that we think can kind of help you guys along your path that we're noticing as helpful and relevant. So, I'm just going to go off for a little bit here. I was thinking the other day, I was like, why listen to us? If you Google us, we have just started our company back in February. There's nothing, by society standards that's like really huge and important. But one thing that I do think is important and how we're adding value to you guys is that we're opening up the doors into our own entrepreneurial journey here, right? We're not trying to say that our way is dogma, or that like we know the answers to make you a creative business owner overnight. Nothing like that. But what we are doing is kind of opening the doors and showing you step by step how our business is unfolding and how we're doing it. And the goal in being transparent like that is to kind of connect with you guys on a deeper level and kind of show you our struggles and how we're getting through them in real time, like on a live basis. And so it's our hope that as we grow as a company and as this podcast grows, you guys can kind of grow along with us. You're kind of getting to see the journey from when we're just, starting out to, down the road, 5-10 years to when we're a fully formed version of this, and you can kind of go back and track it. And so, personally, this is my personal opinion here. I think that's missing, and that is something that I would have wanted before we started this whole journey. And there are people out there that kind of laid out a roadmap and have helped a lot, namely Andy Frisella, Ed Milet. If you guys follow their podcast, they do a very good job at helping entrepreneurs kind of put out the roadmap. But in terms of the artistic space, musicians trying to start a company, or any type of creative trying to achieve a creative goal, be it a company like this, or even just wanting to be a hit songwriter or an author or something like that. There's, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't found anything out there that kind of shows a direct roadmap on how to do that. So just a thought, if you guys were like, why am I listening to these guys? Hopefully that kind of clears it up, our intention behind this. So we have some great things to go over today. I'm going to hand it over to Steve so he can kind of say what's up to you guys, and then we'll get into today's content. But just wanted to thank you guys so much for listening. We track the metrics. We see that there's quite a few people downloading it. So if you haven't reached out to us, please reach out to us. Like, we want to hear from you and connect with you. Send an email to bombersandsleeves@gmail.com. Leave a comment on the Instagram page. Like, don't be shy. We want to know who you are. So Steve, what's up, my brother?
What's going on, man? Great intro. Man, there is an energy in this room tonight, and I gotta owe it. I'm going to owe a lot to Mr. Andy Frisella, because Kevin and I are both, if you guys don't know this, and plus my wife, Chrissy, we are all on the 75 Hard Challenge. The 75 Hard Challenge is 245-minute workouts, one indoor, one outdoor every day, 10 pages of reading material, which is either an entrepreneurial book or something business or like self-help to better help you evolve as a human, or to gain knowledge in something that it could help you down the road. It is also no drinking. And I will say this is, I think, our first drinkless BombCast. Okay, it is.
Almost 10 o'clock. We got coffee and water going.
We have coffee and water. It's soda water. Keep them carbonated. And we also have to pick a diet. Kevin's been doing paleo. He's already down 10 pounds. He looks fantastic. I'm doing vegan. But vegan, I don't know. I really enjoy it. I really do. And I don't really dream about a hamburger or a steak as I probably thought I would, but we're doing really good, and I can definitely tell on our energy level it's just up, and we're very excited about this BombCast today. We got a really exciting one for you, so I'm gonna let Kev kind of take over, and before we actually get into that, I want him to talk about his kind of 75 hard. Just kind of like how's it been going with for you, man? Like, what can you physically notice? What's clarity levels, whatever. Like, take us there.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in this, I would check out the MF CEO project. That's Andy Frisella's podcast. It's something I've been personally following for about 3 years or so. I just have a lot of respect for the guy, man. He's built some amazing companies, and I love how he's trying to give back. So yeah, like Steve said, the challenge involves 2 45-minute workouts. One of those has to be outdoors. You have to follow a diet, any diet, stick to it strictly, zero compromise. 1 gallon of water a day, 10 pages of reading, like he said, and then also you have to take a progress pic, which is super tricky because it's part of the challenge where you're like, man, that feels irrelevant, but it's in there as a metaphor for like, the small details that seem irrelevant are part of it. Sometimes that's part of business, and you have to take care of that. And if you ignore it as part of the whole, then that is a failure. And so if you miss any parts of that along the 75 days, you have to start over at day 1. So it's a cool thing to kind of reset. And like Steve said, the clarity, we're on day 12, and it has been a huge shift. And before we started the podcast, we were talking about all the benefits we've experienced already. So just a background on why we're doing this in the first place. So we kind of challenged each other to say, hey, we're starting a company here. It's going to involve a lot of changes. A lot of those changes are going to have to start with us. What about this challenge here? None of us have stuck with something consistently and that detailed for that amount of time. That would be a good place to start. Let's do that and see what it does for us. And it's already had amazing benefits that we can see will be directly transferable into the business, and we think will be directly transferable to your creative path too. So, just a recap of what we've been talking about here. So, Steve mentioned earlier, it's no alcohol. Not that we had a problem or anything, but we definitely love drinking, and it was kind of a crutch for us. Not a crutch, but just like sort of like an innocent habit, I guess. Every time we would come over here, pick up a 6-pack, let's pour some whiskey, do the thing. It's kind of always there. When you cut it out and you put in that much effort into like working out, it's really amazing the clarity that comes from that. And I can spare a lot of the details. The biggest things that we were talking about off camera is that our tolerance for bullshit is at an absolute 0. And we were saying, why is that? And I think when you will follow a strict program like this and you eliminate some alcohol and, just really awareness and alertness are the 2 words that come to mind that are just immediately insert themselves in your lives. And you're like, you just start questioning everything. Why am I tolerating this? Why do I do this? How come I haven't noticed that before? And when your body starts to get flushed out, your mind gets sharper too. And so we were saying, have you noticed like you're a lot more assertive? And Steve was like, yeah, man. And I just have a lot less tolerance for things that I was very tolerant of before. And one of those things are when people are not in alignment with your core values, that you should probably listen to that the first time. Stop making excuses to say, oh man, this person isn't texting me back within an acceptable amount of time, or this person, they're just rubbing me the wrong way, or they're not doing what they told me they were going to do. It's okay. And I'm going to hand it back over to Steve here. It's okay to say, you know what? I believe you the first time, and just walk away and keep going down your path. I think, since we have so many activities to fit into a day on top of our normal things, that's where the intolerance for bullshit comes from, is that we this obstacle kind of appears in the form of someone else's behavior that you're not super stoked on, where before you think you have a lot of time during the day, so you're like, oh, I'm sure they're just having a bad day, and we can get through this. Now it's like, no, man, they're showing me that they're just not in alignment with my core values. We got to move on. You don't have to cut them out completely and ignore them back, but you do have to say, you know what, maybe that person's just not for me at this point in time, and my path and my goals are a lot bigger than getting sucked in to justifying their behavior. So that has been the biggest lesson for me so far. So Steve, what about you, man? I'm curious to hear your path so far.
I mean, first of all, on the drinking thing, I totally agree with you, man. And something you mentioned earlier too, you kind of realize that these people are helping you. Okay.
Yes.
They actually help you because they're letting you know right off the bat, hey, you really have no business from me, because they're giving you everything, all the clues, their work ethic, whatever. If there's something that's just bouncing weird around them, like, you can see it because you're very clear on that. And they're actually helping you by saying, hey, look, and they're probably great people, and they can even be your friends. Hell, they can be your family. But like, if they're not aligned in your vortex, man, if they're just not aligned with your core values, everything, they're helping you. They're saying, we probably shouldn't hang out together because I'm going to do nothing for you. And it's, and it is kind of sad that when you start kind of realizing it, but like, the faster you can just cut those people, it's like cutting little anchors off of your ankles, right? And because those people are kind of slowing you down when you're going up the mountain, so to speak. So cut them, and it's okay. And it's realizing that, and that's been really a big thing. It's just like seeing that so sharply, being like, wow, why did I ever tolerate this bullshit? Another big thing with me for the drinking is man, I certainly, and I know you don't miss this either, but the grogginess of just waking up. Sometimes it could just be one beer, two beer, a glass of wine. Like, you wake up with that little fog. I think if you are going to attack at life, you have to be at 100%, man. And when you wake up with a little bit of fog, come on, you're at 60. You're at 50. What makes you think at 50 to 60% you're going to have the best day, or actually do something very successful, or make a very successful relationship with somebody? How can you do that? You have to attack life at 100%. And I think the non-drinking thing is really kind of showing me, wow, I wake up, I have energy. It only takes one cup of coffee for me to kind of just like get my day going instead of the 3 or 4. I'm a lot more clear. The clarity is great. My mind works better. I'm actually more creative. I used to always, writing songs and stuff, it's nice to pop a beer, kind of relax you. Let's get in the mood. No, man, it's been really nice picking up that damn guitar and just feeling the creative flow just comes a little bit more naturally. I can start feeling what I'm writing a lot more. I'm not kind of numb to it because, booze can kind of numb you a little bit to it. It's been beautiful. It's been beautiful. And it's only been 12 days in. I'm so excited to see what what the whole 75 is going to do.
Absolutely, man. That's really beautiful and awesome at the same time. And back to when people show you who they are, like you said, they're giving you a gift by showing you where their values lie, and you should just thank them silently and be like, cool, man. Like, I hope you're gonna be aligned with something else that's better for you right now, and we're, it's just not time for our paths to cross, and that's okay. And you should thank them and thank yourself for the awareness and keep moving on, which is great. We were gonna say a couple more things on like the focus of it too. The discipline to do these things every day has spilled into just regular work too. Like, the focus goes into it 100 times. Like, the intensity that I bring to the workouts, I'm finding that I'm putting that in my work too, and that is a big deal.
Oh yeah. And I was gonna go next, like on the workouts. Like, when you're doing it, I mean, I know you're texting me at 5 a.m. because you got to get those in. You have a different like kind of life schedule than I do, and you're up at 5 a.m. getting those workouts in. I mean, do you feel like I mean, how does it feel to getting up at 5 a.m., being part of that 5 a.m. club? I mean, you have to be just like super jazzed at like 9 a.m. because you got so much accomplished. And it's 9 a.m. and half America's still asleep.
Yeah. So I'm fairly consistent on that. Some days I do sleep past that, and I have to get the workout in late at night or in the afternoon. But that doesn't work. Like the day doesn't flow as smoothly. So it definitely has its own kind of consequences built into it. But yes, those days that I do hit that, it feels really good. And we were talking before we started here. Shout out to Drama, the owner of Young and Reckless, Chris Drama Path. He has a great podcast, if you guys haven't checked it out either, called Short Story Long. And I checked out an episode with a guy named Trevor Moad on there, who was like, I guess, a sports psychology mindset specialist within the NFL and is now trying to branch out and write a book. Anyway, the biggest thing that he said that I wanted to relate to this 75 Hard program that we're doing, that Steve and I were talking about earlier, is that when you want to be great at something, when you want to achieve excellence, like we're trying to achieve with this company and with our podcast and everything else that we're trying to do in life, even personally, there is a choice, and that choice comes with a path, and it's a very specific path that leads towards that excellence. And those choices involved in it are not the everyday choices that you had before you chose that path to greatness, right? Normally, those choices include, what do I want to do today? I can do anything. I can take 5 naps. I can sleep in too late. I can eat pizza. I can do, whatever you want to do. And that's great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But if you want to achieve something of greatness, of excellence, there are very clear choices, and most of those choices are saying no to a lot of things that you wouldn't normally think of until you have a framework to get you focused on that specific path. And so I feel like while we have a long way to go, humbly, this 75 Hard program has given us the framework to show us what that path to excellence looks like and shine a light on those choices that we need to say yes to and those choices that we need to say no to. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys, because I think that was a really profound insight. Like that, if you're wanting to achieve something great in your creative pursuit, there are choices. You don't have the choice to do anything. You have the choice to do the right things to move you forward towards your goal. And there is a laser focus, element to it. One of the stories he shares is like these NFL players, specifically Russell Wilson, who was with a quarterback for the Seahawks for a while. He just shares stories about everything in his life revolves around the choice to get better every day, to continue on that path towards greatness and excellence. And with that comes choices to say no to a lot of things that you would want to say yes to. And so the training ground was 75 Hard. Like, we have 4th of July coming up. We're not drinking right now. So do we go to that extra barbecue if we think that we don't have the discipline to stay away from extra condiments or beers? The answer is no. You chose to commit to something, and you're on a path towards making yourself better, towards like greatness and excellence. And so that whole concept of choice, I just thought was interesting and wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah, that's that's amazing. That's amazing. That's right on the money. So that's where we're at, guys. That's where we're at. That's where our minds are at, and we feel great. And we thank Andy Frisella for even having this program, putting it out in the atmosphere, and it's going good. And we will definitely keep you guys updated on our journey for the whole 75, man. But I encourage you, if you're at a spot in life and you're just wanting to better yourself and do something a little bit different, and it's going to take commitment, and it's not easy. It is hard. But I promise you the reward of it is so worth it. And we're 12 days in, and I already feel so much better. Like I said, I can't wait to see how we both feel at the end of this.
Definitely. And, the biggest thing is the momentum you're going to gain. I think the biggest driver of depression and feeling hopeless is lack of momentum. And if you can generate that momentum within you physically, just by getting on a normal workout routine that doesn't have to be crazy, it can just be a couple walks outdoors per day, and just progressively make it more intense as you feel comfortable, even just that alone can start sparking new ideas, can start making you feel more energized and more at peace internally, and therefore, just give you a better outlook. So, the program can do it more justice than I can explain, but if you are feeling stuck, I've been there, and this can definitely lift the veil of that depression and kind of start showing you some more, down a better positive path, if nothing else. So,
yeah,
that's good stuff.
That's good stuff. We're excited. Obviously, we're excited.
We could do a whole show just on that.
And just for you guys to understand, we talked about this for Kevin got here at 7:30. It is now 9:30. We talked about it for 2 hours. We've been talking about this. So yeah. We were not even going to go down that rabbit hole with everything, but that's how good we're feeling, and that's how important that this program is to us. And thanks for being a part of it with us. Today, it's going to be this is a two-parter, and we're going to be talking today about the 4 pillars. I am going to let Kevin take this, and we're going to just dive into the 4 pillars of creativity.
Yeah. So a while back, we were talking about how we just the guiding principles around why we started this company in the first place and why we wanted to take on the massive task of becoming entrepreneurs and starting an apparel business. And one of the things that came up was, we just feel out of alignment with our creativity. And we started thinking on that some more, and we were like, I think as creative artists, whether we realize it or not, all of us have our own unique creative code. And whether you've actually identified that and dove into it, when you've been in alignment with it and when you've fallen out of alignment with it. And so we wanted to give life to that concept and put this into a 2-part episode, like Steve said, which is, we're going to call it Honoring Your Creative Code. And in today's episode, we're going to kind of go over an overview, and we're going to go through the 4 pillars of what we think a creative code is made up of. And we'll name those 4 pillars and then just kind of dive into them and how they can benefit you on your creative journey. So what we're going to cover includes, what does following a code mean? Well, let's just start there. And then we're going to move into how do you know when you're in alignment with it? And vice versa, how do you know when you're out of alignment with it? And then how do you create a code if you don't have one? Maybe you're like, I've never heard of that shit before. Please expand. We can and will do that for you. So let's launch right into the 4 pillars here. And what does that mean? So it's like the 4 anchors of what a creative code is made up of. And just a teaser for part 2, we're going to go into, we actually wrote out a whole creative code. It's kind of like the Bombers and Sleeves creed or creative code, if you will. So on episode 2, we'll dive into what that actually is, but this is kind of a precursor to that. So let's go through the 4 pillars of a creative code. And we named those as number 1, intuition, number 2, playfulness, number 3, freedom, and the 4th pillar is awareness. Okay, so whatever your path is right now, if you're a songwriter, if you're a writer, aspiring novelist, aspiring poet, an actor, just a painter, pottery, whatever, I want you to close your eyes and imagine for a second what the fully formed idea of success in your particular pursuit looks like to you. Just go ahead and close your eyes and see yourself being as successful as you can possibly imagine with that, with your art, with your creativity. Okay, I'll give you just a second to do that. So, all right. Now, with that vision being held in your mind, let's walk through these 4 pillars here. And Steve and I will kind of go back and forth here. So open your eyes and kind of follow us along here. So the 4th pillar, again, holding that vision in your mind's eye, let's talk about intuition. So you have your creative goal. Maybe things aren't going as smoothly as you would hope to. Let's check in on this first pillar, intuition. How much time a day are you dedicating to really developing that intuition? Because for me, a lot of creativity stems from intuition. You get these, what we call whispers or hunches of, or like these small little flashes of an idea will come to your mind and you're like, this is interesting. I want to follow this. And through following that hunch or intuition, you go down a rabbit hole that leads to maybe a great piece of writing, or maybe at least a nothing, and maybe the exercise is in and of itself just an imaginative drill, if you will. But I want you to think about, stress can dim that intuition big time. So I want you to kind of do a quick audit of your life, and where are you allowing for that intuition to come into play? Are you the type of person that is very in tune with your intuition? Maybe you're a daily meditator. Then that's great. You're probably very in tune with that. Now, on the opposite side, are you very stressed out? Are you always worrying about past things? Are you always nervous about the future? Then you're probably dimming that intuition, and you're not getting that particular channel of the creative code as clearly as you could be. So intuition to me means taking time away from your project, going on walks, and just listening to your thoughts. You don't have to be a full seasoned meditator. I do meditate, but if you don't, you can still do a simple exercise. You can go out and take a walk, no music, no distractions, and just let the world come into your consciousness as it presents itself. Notice the thoughts that you're having about that, not the immediate conscious thoughts that are like, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, that car is moving too fast. Oh, that's a cute dog that's walking across the street. Really go deeper than that. What are you feeling when you're looking at things? How are you feeling connection-wise in relation to your environment? Notice the subtleties, because that your intuition lies in the subtleness. And once you do that, I would challenge you to come back to your project and take that same type of awareness practice into whatever you're working on. What do you notice about it that you didn't notice before you went outside? What are the subtle feelings you get about it? What, if it could speak to you, is there something that it would say in its own language? Something like that. That's the first pillar, and that's how I define intuition. I'm going to hand it over to Steve. And how would you define that first pillar?
Oh, I definitely agree with walking away from it and doing something different. Actually, I have an example. This happened.
Yeah.
This happened the other day. We were struggling. It was about a 4-hour write. And it was a great title, great hook, and it was just trying to find something to really just nail that hook, and we worked all around it and just could not find. We found about 300 ways not to do it, like to not really nail the hook, which was fine. And usually you're just beating yourself up in a room, and we all agreed. We're like, okay, let's take a break. We're going to walk away, and we all went outside, and we just went outside. Everybody, I was like, just don't think about it. Just don't even think about it. So we went outside, went on the back deck, and just breathed in the air. It was a beautiful day. Felt the little breeze coming in. The sun was shining. It was gorgeous. I was noticing birds. Just free. My mind was free. And everyone, there's 2 other writers. Everyone else is free, right? We didn't even say a word to each other. We just went out there, just breathed like this. It was really, it's kind of awkward, to be honest, because we're all sitting there gabbing the whole time and trying to, we're writers, so it's words, words, words. Now no one's saying anything. Did that for about 15 minutes, came back in, found the hook. And like almost like the hook was just waiting for us to come back in and go grab it.
There it is.
And it's the intuition of, you're right, it's walking away and just freeing your mind sometimes and focusing on different things. And yeah, I remember looking at this. It was at Blue Jay, which you really rarely see Blue Jays, I think, in Nashville. But I was just like looking at it, and I was like, And Blue Jays make me feel good because they remind me of back home.
Yeah.
And then we went in there and we found it. Okay, and I don't know. Some people, oh, it's magic. Oh, it was just No, I think it's part of that process is take your mind off it, breathe in something else. And then breathe, and then when you breathe out, it's almost like it's there for you. Yeah,
absolutely. And I just a little practical nugget that I like to share with you guys too. I think, and I've just this is my personal opinion and what I've realized in my own path on cultivating my personal intuition is that intuition is directly tied towards trusting yourself more. So I used to be the type of the person that really struggled with making decisions, and I would always wait for someone else to make the decision first, and had that would carry over into personal decisions in my daily life. I would second guess it because I just wasn't used to being decisive. I think practicing decisiveness is a direct correlation to intuition, because once you can train yourself to start trusting yourself more, to make more decisions, and just to, validate your own thoughts more, then your intuition is going to come to the surface more, because I have experienced that intuition hides from indecisiveness or second guessing. It doesn't live in that environment. So the more you can train yourself to just make quick decisions, be the guy that decides where to go to lunch, be the person that decides to take a different route to work if you're carpooling, or be the person that makes the decision. Even if it's wrong, at least you made a decision. And practicing being assertive like that will, in my personal experience, again, has given a pathway for intuition to show up more often as well. So, all right. So again, going back to that fully formed vision you have, let's revisit that, kind of check in with yourself again, and let's move on to the second pillar. The second pillar is playfulness. So look at that fully formed vision. Take a look at where you're at in relation to what perfect success looks like to you. And let's talk about playfulness. How much space are you putting around your project to allow for playfulness? I think this is very important. Taking it too seriously, putting pressure around it to make it, quote, perfect, or putting too much of your identity or the success of your entire life around this particular project is going to really mess things up. So where can you find opportunities to, this is sound weird, but where can you find opportunities to make a joke out of it? Where can you turn it into the most absurd opposite you can think of? How would it look like if it was the funniest, stupidest shit you've ever seen in your life? And then vice versa, what would it be if it was like a carnival ride of a project? How can you instill, I'm going to say, childlike playfulness around it to try to look at it from a different perspective? And how I would do this, like if I was writing a piece, as a writer, I am a grammar Nazi. It's pretty ridiculous. It kind of goes with my addiction to perfectionism that I'm working on. But so playfulness, like if I was writing a piece, playfulness for me would be like, let's mess this up. Let's make up words. Let's have shitty grammar, and let's just write the worst thing we ever could, and then write in funny jokes in there, or completely off the wall imaginative things that make no sense to anyone, but it's all in essence of playing. I would do that. I would set the timer. I would set the timer for like 15 minutes and just play with it. No rules. Just let yourself go. I don't even care if you're just scribbling across the page, honestly. Set the timer for 15 minutes. Look back at that, and now put your, quote, serious artist hat back on that really cares about the success of the project, and look at the playful side of it, and then look at what you're wanting it to be. I, in my own experience, have gotten great benefit out of this, because the opposite that shows itself in playfulness is actually a form of creativity that can be applied in a serious sense that might spark a new idea. And so there's playfulness in that regard. And then there's also playfulness, like literally go play a game with your friends, play some basketball, we have this thing called Can Jam, which is like these plastic garbage cans that you set up with like a little VHS hole in it. That's a VCR tape for those that don't know. And you try to throw the Frisbee in it. There's rules around it, but anyway, it's a fucking great time, and it takes your mind off of things. So I think playing games in the physical sense, but then also playing games with your work has tremendous value. So that's my take on playfulness. Steve, what do you think, man?
Oh, it's so funny because when you're talking, I think of all the times I've been in a room with people I love collaborating with, and as songwriters, everyone knows that we do this. But when you're stuck on a line, you will literally, everyone just goes around the room and you make a parody of that line, and it's usually something dirty or filthy. Yep. Or just something so bizarre, and it makes everyone laugh. And the best thing about that is like no one's trying to gross each other out. No one's trying to be perverted or grotesque or anything. You're doing that because you're doing this playfulness to ease the mind a little bit and saying, let's put the pressure off of this next line that we're all dying to get, and like let's just laugh about it. When that easiness comes in, that's when you create best. And nobody ever sits there, even procrastinators that wait till the last minute. Like some people can do great work that way, but they still don't put like the pressure of creating. That's just how they work. I firmly believe 100% that you cannot create your best putting pressure on any project. Okay, you just can't. So the playfulness is so key. It really is. Loosen up. And like make fun of it, like you were saying, and make parodies of it, whatever it is, because the genius thing about that is it sparks ideas. 100% it sparks ideas, because someone might be listening, or you might actually say something out loud that's so ridiculous, but all of a sudden it's like, wait, I can maybe take from that, or as a songwriter, it could be like, oh my God, I love the way you did that, and like that's actually a really cool melody. We're actually going to use that. In fact, we're going to use that during the whole entire song. It's crazy.
I'll do a little thing sometimes too, where I'll go out, maybe I'm in a parking lot or something. I'll walk on those little like parking, those cement curb things that are at the end of parking spaces. I'll just walk along those and like pretend I'm on like a balance beam or something. It's just something stupid to get my mind off of whatever's going on. And it can be something as simple as that too. Just try walking a different way, or try keeping your balance on something, or anything like that can be just a cool break and put you back in touch with your playfulness and help you out on that. So again, checking back in with your vision, put that back up on the forefront of your mind here. Let's check in with the third pillar. The third pillar kind of ties in with playfulness, but it's a little bit different, enough so that we kind of made it its own. And that third is freedom. So for me, this means like freedom from judgment and expectation. I think as creators, a lot of us are inherent perfectionists, right? We're kind of in tune to a lot of these things we've already been talking about already, which kind of makes us different. I'm sure each and every one of you out there as a creative artist has felt different growing up. You definitely have experienced your own form of black sheep syndrome. And with that, I think subconsciously comes this like very judgmental voice in our heads, because we see the intense beauty of things, but then we also see the intense kind of tragedy in day-to-day life. And we also are very acutely aware of how we approach things differently as creative beings. And so I think a lot of us, myself for sure, have picked up a bad habit of negative self-talk and judgment, and almost wanting to go on a vendetta to prove our way of thinking right. And with that comes a lot of pressure to make something amazing in the name of validating your way of being. And so I'd like to offer this idea of freedom to say it just brings some compassion to yourself when it comes to that. Like, yeah, we are a little different as creative beings, but that's what makes us unique to the world. That's our unique gift. So, I'd like to offer this idea as, let's take a look at where you are with your art. And if you're being held back by subconscious judgment of wanting to prove something, I invite you to erase that. You need to be free from that. That's where this freedom notion comes in. So, let's check in and make sure that we're free of negative judgment, that we're free of trying to prove something to someone else, and that the only thing that we're allowing through our creativity is the pure expression of something that's aligned with our intuition and our playfulness, and something that we genuinely want to bring to life because we just feel it internally as the right thing to create in that particular moment. It's what was presented to us creatively as a vision, and now we want to authentically present that, free from any type of proving, or free from any type of expectation that it's going to make us feel validated in who we are. Let's keep that in a separate arena. If we are creating from a place of that, I would invite you to kind of check in and just give, yourself some time to really think about where those intentions are coming from, kind of heal those first, and then come back to your project and notice the benefits that freedom gives to the whole thing. And I can be fairly certain that it's going to let it move further down the path than it may be right now if it's stuck. So that's what I mean when I say freedom. What's freedom to you, Steve?
Freedom to me, it's funny because I'm actually, I'm talking to a guy right now who is going through something, where he comes from a great family, and they all wanted him to be a doctor. And his father was a doctor, his grandfather was a doctor. He was supposed to be the next to take over, and he actually changed gears, was going to medical school and changed gears, and now he wants to be a songwriter. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And he reached out to me, and I'm talking to him right now. And my biggest thing was you cannot just because that was their path, that was their plan. Okay, doesn't mean this is your path. So you have to 100% that freedom to me means like you have to be free from their judgment, because they're not happy. I'll tell you right now, they're not happy, and it makes it really difficult for him because that's his family, and I understand that. And I think they will accept the fact that he wants to do something creative, but you have to be free from their judgment and be free in knowing that this is the right thing for you. Because to be a true artist, to be a true creator, you have to commit 100% to it. You have to be committed to doing this every day. There's no doubt. Okay, there's just no doubt. And so that's kind of what it means to me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So that's a great piggyback on what I was talking about, because what you're saying is free from the fear of other people's judgment and free from the projections that others can put onto you. And again, I want to be careful. No one is saying here to be irresponsible. If you're in a unique situation where you have to go a different direction, then that's what it is. But what we're saying here is, like, this particular person, they're feeling a calling that they know is going to be judged negatively by people that they care about, and they're pursuing that anyway. And that in and of itself is really important, no matter what field you're in, creative or not. So our mission t-shirt, it has the circle and skull logo on it. Some of you guys may have it. Or if you go to the website and see it, the poem that's written on the back of that is directly reflective of that whole point right there. And it reads, "So our hearts bombed and buried seek peace on our sleeves, for the life of an artist cannot breathe until seen." And basically what that is like, man, if you feel called towards a creative pursuit and you're, quote, bombing that because you're afraid of the opinions of others, eventually it's going to find a way to seek peace or be born into existence by becoming a part of you. And if you ignore that, eventually it's going to find a way to come out and show itself to the world. And the last part of that poem means that you will be happier being free and letting that part of you be exposed, because when you are truly, that last part, the life of an artist cannot breathe until seen, being aligned and allowing the freedom of your creative idea to come through is a very good feeling, because you are being recognized for your authentic self. And that's what we mean by that last part there. So I think it ties in perfectly with what we're talking about here. All right, so let's move on to the fourth pillar here, the fourth and final. So we've thrown a lot at you. I hope you are getting some value out of this here. All right, let's go into the fourth pillar. So the fourth pillar is awareness. I like this pillar a lot because it ties in everything, right? Everything we were talking about here comes with an element of awareness. So getting practical with it, how do you develop a sense of awareness? I kind of touched on that with the beginning on how to develop intuition, but if you are just simply going on walks and making a conscious effort to be aware of things that you weren't aware of before, noticing little details that you weren't aware of before, I think that is a good practical way to kind of start training yourself to just be more aware of your surroundings, and therefore it's going to spill over into being more aware with your thoughts and feelings and things like that. Now, tying into what we've been talking about, awareness is the fourth pillar because it's kind of the cap on all of these. You need to be aware enough to know when you're out of alignment with your intuition. You need to be aware enough to when you're taking your project too serious and add some playfulness into it. You need to be aware enough when you're absorbing other people's projections and need to exercise some freedom around your project. Awareness is just a big thing. And not only is it a big thing, but the subtleties that can present themselves in everyday life when you are alert and more aware can really tie over directly into your project. Because I think the biggest or the most impactful creative works of art out there are not necessarily impactful because of their big picture idea. It's a lot of the times they're impactful because of the little details. It's the prose in an author's novel. It's the slight, it's the double entendres, or it's the phrasing in certain poetry, or like how, I could go on and on, but normally it's the subtleties that make something above and beyond great. And I believe personally that those subtleties come from cultivating a sense of awareness. So Steve, what's awareness to you?
The first thing that comes to my mind, especially with awareness, and this is something that I value so much. I remember Jennifer Hudson said, in order to be successful, all it is owning your superpower and being aware of that. And so I think as a creator, you have to own your superpower. You have to know, you have to be aware of, okay, what do you just like soar at? Okay, what is the one thing? And okay, so as a songwriter, I'm like, I know what types of songs that I love to write, and I know I can nail. And I know the songs that I write that I just love, but just personally love to write because I get more feeling out of that. That's knowing your superpower. Going into a room, and these are examples, and I'm sorry I keep using songwriting, but this is just, my personal journey with it, is I know the person I have to be in that room because I'm very aware of who I am and what is my superpower, and I know what I can offer. And that's a big thing as a creator is I just think being aware of your superpower and don't let anyone fuck with that.
Absolutely. So self-awareness then is a very crucial part of that too. So I'd invite you to carve out some time every day to maybe write down what you believe is holding you back, what you believe your strengths are, where you believe you're not the strongest, and try to evaluate that from a very non-judgmental, neutral place. And I think that's a good way to cultivate that self-awareness, because all of that is going to play into moving your project forward and getting the best out of yourself as a creator. So that's it. We have intuition, playfulness, freedom, and awareness. And, in our opinion, those are the 4 pillars of the creative code that any and all of us can use whenever we're feeling stuck, or whenever we're feeling, that we're just, when you're aligned with your creativity and when you're not. So if you find yourself not aligned with your creativity, this is kind of here as a guideline to say, let's check back in with the creative code. Am I in tune with my intuition? Am I allowing enough room for playfulness? Is there freedom around this? Am I as aware as I need to be? So that's the intention behind today's episode. And like we said, next episode, we're going to outline a whole creative code that kind of reads like a creed, I guess you could say. And we'll expand furthermore on these ideas, but we're going to wrap all 4 pillars into one code that you can kind of check back on. So we thought it would be a cool thing, and hopefully it's helpful to you guys. One more thing before we wrap up here. Just wanted to let you guys know that we've partnered with a combat veteran outreach program called Weekends with Warriors. Something that's super cool. They do a lot of good things for. So let me back up here. So mental health all around the board, whether you've been a service member or a creator or whatever walk of life you're from, we firmly stand for mental health and anything that prevents depression, anxiety, and certainly suicide. Because I think there's a crossover there between people that feel stuck artistically, that it can be very depressing sometimes. It can lead towards a dark path. And so one thing that we really care about is just giving back to organizations that are aware of mental health issues, and including suicide prevention, including the alleviation of depression. And so this particular organization is a combat veteran outreach, and so many of them are artists and creators as well. And so it's just really close to our hearts to make sure that organization is getting the funding that they need to help these combat veterans overcome their demons and express what they want to express now that they're back and have served and been through things that we can't even imagine. So what the point of that is, we have a specialty shirt on our website that has our snake bomb design on the back of it, and 100% of the proceeds go to Weekends with Warriors. One of the coolest things they do is they partner with a service dog organization, and basically, so canines like German Shepherds that can no longer be of service to the police force, they will basically pay for a dog to go to a combat veteran in need, and it just cool stuff like that, or get them out of the house and just be a part of a brotherhood again. And so that whole collective effort to make all of us just feel better and get through whatever emotional demons we're battling with, I think we can all kind of resonate with that. So it is important to us. So check it out if you feel like it. Please, make sure you're joining our mailing list so we can share cool stuff like that with you. And you can also get notified when new podcasts come out. And that is about it.
Thanks for listening. We're excited to tap into part 2. And just remember, bomb your boundaries, baby.